Hey, everybody. Thanks for stopping in and watching this video. I'm Shannon Jackson, and I have known Randy for many, many years through the Walk to Emmaus. He's a pastor, and I have attended his church, and my mom attends his church. And he also supports the ministry where I work. And so I wanted to have a conversation with him about In the Wait, the movie, the chapters, and all the things that you may have questions about, I might have questions about. And so, Randy, we're going to kind of talk through all the things today and ask some questions and really
I'll,
get to know more about what
I
you're
look
doing.
forward to it. Thank you for the opportunity to share
Sure.
with you today.
Absolutely. Happy to. So kind of the first thing maybe is, how did one transplant, one kidney transplant, turn into a movement and a movie?
Well, that's a big question. Yeah. So it actually, if you take it a step back further, it was one overheard
Mm,
conversation while getting a cup of coffee that turned into the one transplant. Because
wow.
I was like so many other people, I had no idea about this need that was out there
Right.
in the country. 38 million people have chronic kidney disease just in the United States.
Mm,
Most don't know they have it,
wow.
and I think there's almost a million people. I've heard numbers up to just shy of a million people that are on dialysis, and it's there's only two ways to get off of dialysis, and that's to find a kidney or you pass away. And so I was like everyone else. I didn't know those things until I overheard a lady on a women's retreat that I wasn't even supposed to be serving on
Right.
originally. It was a last minute kind of thing, but I overheard her say to her mom, "We got to pray we can find somebody that's O positive that's willing to give up a body part. But how do you
Hmm.
ask somebody for a body part?"
Right.
So that started that process for me because I felt right away that God was telling me, this is why I brought you here. I knew I was O positive from my
Hmm.
time in the military. And so I started the process of being tested. And through that process, over the months of getting tested, I learned about this great need. And it turns out they told me that we would not match because of my blood transfusion,
Hmm.
and that randomizes your HLA. I don't understand all that stuff, but it randomizes this. You have not just blood type, but blood tissue or tissue match, and then there's crossover things that they do as well. So
Mm.
they told me because of the blood transfusion, we would likely it would be almost impossible for us to match.
Wow.
Yet when they tested us, we were a perfect match. Now I was
Incredible.
prepared to do what's called a paired exchange or a pledge, where I could agree to donate my kidney if I was healthy enough to, and Russell would then go to the top of the list. Because that's another thing, Shannon, people don't realize that once you're on the transplant list, and I think it was just shy of 50,000 that were added to the list just in 2025,
Wow.
and so it's growing.
Hmm.
But the average wait is 6 to 8 years, depending on your demographic where
Right.
you are. That's another thing people don't understand. There's actually every transplant center has its own list,
Mm.
so there's a lot of challenges to being on the list. And so I agreed to do the paired exchange, yet we ended up being a perfect match. And so that's how it became a transplant. How the surgery happened in September 30th of 22, and I started the process of being a donor, and the healing process was so quick. I was literally back at the gym 7 days after my surgery,
Wow.
and I have a very small incision right where my belly button is,
Hmm.
so you can't even see a scar. So they literally took the kidney out through my belly button,
Wow.
and
That's hard to believe.
I know.
It's crazy.
And so I was within a month and a half. I felt just like I do right now. I felt normal. Actually, I felt better. I've put on a couple of pounds since then. So, but as I shared my testimony when given the opportunity,
Hmm.
just sort of organically, I would
Hmm.
share with other people. Um, I was asked many times, would you do it again? And I said, and I don't know why I said it this way, but I said if I had 200 kidneys, I'd do it 199 more times starting
Wow.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
And that's the same sentiment I hear from donors every time,
Hmm.
because there's something really spiritual about being that vessel,
Yeah.
and the Lord working through you to impact someone else's
Hmm.
physical life. It was incredible. I sort of relate it to foot washing.
Mm.
which is kind of weird, but it's a physical thing where you're doing an act of service for someone else, but you are blessed through that process.
Mhm.
And so that's the thing that as I've thought about it, that I could closest relate it to
Right.
is just being able to truly serve someone else.
Mhm.
That's why I'm excited about the chapters,
Sure.
which I'm sure we'll get to that in a
Yeah,
little bit. But
absolutely.
so as I shared, the response was, "Well, I had no idea.
Mhm.
The awareness it's not there. So what? How can I do this? Can I do
Mhm.
the same thing you did?" And so, as that happened more and more, I had the idea because I was involved with a movie project several years ago. My 2-year-old son disappeared. A movie was made about that, about priorities, what's important in life, because I
Mm.
wasn't a very good father. I was a workaholic
Mhm.
until that day.
Wow.
And as a result of that becoming a movie and the response that we've gotten from that, and tens of millions of people have seen that, I got the idea, what if we did a bigger movie, put it in theaters across the country, got this in front of 100 million people,
Mhm.
opened up a nonprofit, took the majority of the proceeds from the movie, put it back into the nonprofit, and boots on the ground, go out and find 100,000 people.
Mm.
And if we got it in front of 100 million people, we need one out of 1,000 to say, I can do that too.
Right.
And we would end the wait.
That's amazing.
And so it's a numbers game.
Mhm.
And so that's how the whole thing started.
Mhm.
And now it's the tentacles of it. God had a plan.
Yeah.
We threw one rock into that
Mhm.
pond, thinking it would create some ripple effects, but God's sort of directed us to dump a truckload of gravel in that
It's
pond and see
amazing.
what will happen.
That is so exciting, and it's a remarkable uh, transition and how it has truly exploded, and it's going to continue to. For those of us that don't know anyone that has any kidney issues at all, what is it like for someone living on dialysis or someone that needs a transplant? Like, what is the urgency and why do people need to really? If you could just make us feel that urgency with what is it like with people on dialysis? I've heard a little bit about it,
Hmm.
but I don't think I even really fully understand what someone living on dialysis, what their life is like every week.
It's a great question because when people find out they have kidney disease, it's really all over the spectrum. You
Mm.
have some that they find out earlier on,
Mm-hmm.
and they're maybe stage 2, stage 3 of
So
kidney.
there's stages.
Oh yeah,
I didn't
yeah.
realize that. Wow.
Stage
Okay.
5 is it's where it's full blown,
Okay.
and you better find a donor right away.
Wow.
And so the first young man we were able to help, he was told, he was 27, and he was told he
Whoa.
thought he had the flu, and he went to the hospital one summer, thought he was completely healthy, and this was about 3 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and they told him, you have stage 5 kidney failure, you have to find a donor. And his mom called, and she said, this was a month after we opened the nonprofit. I
Wow.
barely knew how to spell nonprofit. And so she said, my son needs a kidney, and somebody gave me your number. I don't know anything about you.
Yeah.
What can you help us? And I said, ma'am,
Wow.
I don't have another one that I can give,
Mm-hmm.
but if I did, I would. But we can help create an awareness. And so the first fundraiser we did was about 3 months after that, and 65 people were at that fundraiser. And at that event, I invited him, and he had just come out of ICU a few weeks earlier, but he was healthy
Oh,
enough to come to the event with his parents. And I had him stand so people would see this. These are real people.
yeah.
These are real lives.
Yeah.
And out of that event, 5 people that night stepped up and said, "I want to donate a kidney."
Wow.
And so he received a kidney. That was November. So by March, he had his kidney,
That's
and he was number
amazing.
1. And in 2 weeks, we'll have number 15.
That's
And
incredible.
so, and the movie hasn't come out yet.
Right. And it's like you're literally saving people's lives.
I would say the Lord is,
Yeah.
and He's used
Yeah.
us to sort of help make that happen.
Sure.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So you have this situation um, where you start to realize that, just by happenstance, somebody calls you, you're able to help. So when did you realize that what was needed was actually bigger than the movie?
That's a great question. My goal, the whole reason I thought the movie
Mm-hmm.
was because I'd seen how this first movie had was in front of a lot of people,
Right.
so I knew it would create awareness. But earlier on, and I don't think I've shared this with anybody. This
Mm.
just popped in my mind. But early on, when we first had the idea, we were at an Emmaus gathering, and I think it was spring of 23. And the recipient and his wife, Russell and Lucretia, were at that dinner, and I sat down and I shared with them this idea
Mhm.
of what if we did this? What if we made a movie? And Lucretia said something to me that stuck with me. She said they loved the idea, they were all about it, and she said it's so important for people to understand what it's like to be on dialysis,
Mm.
and for those people that are on dialysis to realize that they have hope.
Mm.
And so that became a focal point. So I started thinking, I think that's when the seeds were first planted. I
Wow.
started thinking, how can this be more than just an awareness campaign
Mhm.
where we're physically able to help save lives, but we're also able to impact the lives of those who are struggling with
Wow.
this right now? Because to answer the question that you asked a while ago that
Yeah.
I,
I was just
I
thinking, I was
didn't
like, "Oh,
answer,
I skipped over that."
you didn't skip over it. I just went into a story. I am
Mhm.
a pastor and
Yeah, yeah.
a former politician, so I tend to go down rabbit holes.
Sure.
But no, it's such a hopeless feeling knowing that you got to rely on somebody else, likely a stranger.
Mm.
So dialysis is typically there's two types. If you go into a center for dialysis, which is the norm, it's 3 days a week, 3 or 4 hours a day
Oh,
for those
wow.
3 days a week. You cannot miss it. The kidneys actually pull the toxins out of your blood. So they don't work anymore. Dialysis has to do that for you. And
Mm.
so you can't miss a treatment. I actually was watching a Facebook thing. Watching I'm part of a pod or a Facebook group that's called I Hate Dialysis.
Mhm.
Just reading their comments and stuff, and one of them
Wow.
asked, "How long can I last if I just stop dialysis? Because it's so difficult on the body." And the typical response was maybe a week, maybe a
Wow.
month if you're lucky, if you're in good health.
Mm.
But you can stay on dialysis for a long time. Some can't because their situation is more dire.
Mhm.
But you're basically that becomes your life is
Right.
dialysis, and then you're recovering the days in between. There's another method that you can do at home, but that requires you to be on dialysis for I think it's 8 to 10 hours a day, 7 days a week, every day. So you try to do it while you're sleeping. It requires a very sterile environment. You have huge boxes of this stuff that basically washes out your insides
Mm.
on a nightly basis, and so neither one is pleasant.
Wow,
And
and I'm
so
sure it's expensive.
yes,
Mhm.
dialysis costs. Um, I've heard the term, so don't hold me to this, but I've heard that it costs around $8,000 per treatment. So
Wow.
it's about $25,000, and most people, I don't know anybody that can afford that.
Right.
And so most of the cost is borne by Medicare and Medicaid. Medicare is on the federal side, Medicaid at the state level, and I have to round it off. It's roughly $100,000 per year per person, just for Medicare
Wow.
at the federal level, and the average person's on dialysis 7.5 years.
Jeez.
So we started thinking, how can we help those who are in that situation now?
Mhm.
And then as a pastor, I start thinking about how my church, we want to be about local missions.
Mhm.
And this is an area of local missions that people don't think about
Mhm.
because there's kind of a stigma attached with it. People think, well, you have this issue because you've done something wrong.
Mm.
Many times that's not the case.
Right.
It's not always because of nutrition or fitness and diabetes. Many times it's polycystic, it's genetics.
Mm.
And so, one of the people that we're able to help find a kidney, he's the sixth person in his family that's had to have a kidney transplant.
Wow.
So that's polycystic kidney disease.
Wow.
And so that's where the idea of the chapters came from,
Mhm.
is how can we minister to people in this community right now in Western Georgia that may need a ride to dialysis.
Sure.
They may need someone to pray for them. They may
Mhm.
need a meal. They may
Mhm.
need to just know that there's people out there that are trying to help them right now.
Right.
Maybe we can adopt someone in this area that needs a transplant, and we go out and try to create awareness for that person
Sure.
or several people.
Mhm.
And for them to know, here's a church that you can come to. It doesn't have to be a church; it could be a civic club.
Right.
But here's a place that you can come to that we're going to pray for you. We're going to love on you. We want to be there to help take
Mhm.
care of your
Support,
needs.
community
Yeah,
support, you know?
be in the hands and feet of Jesus.
Sure.
That's all a chapter is.
Mhm.
And then we realized we're going to have potentially millions of people to come to our website when the
Mhm.
movie comes out.
Sure.
So what if we built an infrastructure through IT,
Mhm.
things that I know nothing about, but I surround myself with smart people. That
Right.
way I don't have to be smart. But they can come to the website, go to the dashboard, and say, I need some help, and
Mhm.
they'll be able to geographically be attached to the closest chapter,
Wow, okay.
or they can say, I want to help, and then they can fill out the information. It will be sent to the chapter coordinator,
Mhm.
and then they can reach out to them and say, "Here's your opportunities
Okay.
in the area."
Mhm.
And so right now we're actively recruiting all over the country. We're looking for people who are interested in being a coordinator, us explaining to them what the process is, what it requires. We'll
Mhm.
vet them. We'll do background checks, make sure they
Mhm.
represent us well. But we're looking for partners that want to go out and make a difference in their community.
That's great.
Yeah.
So, when you say chapters, what do you mean? Like, what do they do? What would their function be within the community?
Well, there's a lot of autonomy for
Mhm.
how they want to do that.
Okay.
The idea is specific to our community. How can we best serve those that are in need for chronic kidney disease? And it's expandable. You can use it for those that are homeless. You can use it
Mhm.
for someone, people that are shut-ins.
Right.
So it's a format that's based on renally challenged people, but it can be used for anything.
Mhm.
But the basic structure is that they would meet on a regular basis, maybe once a month, every couple of weeks. We got a whole guide,
Okay.
a 6-page document that we send to those who are interested in being leaders that explains all this. It's all downloadable on our website too,
Okay.
endthewait.net. Shameless plug, but they're basically trying to provide transportation,
Mhm.
logistics, and then adopt someone in their community that
Right.
they can help find a kidney. And so, if someone wants to be a coordinator, they go through the vetting process, and then they reach out to their church members.
Mhm.
Hopefully, the church would be willing to let them make an announcement about
Mhm.
it, just to recruit volunteers. It's all volunteer based and laity based. We're
Mhm.
not asking pastors to. I know what that's like,
Mhm.
and there's a lot of requests out there, and pastors tend
Mhm.
to be busy. And so we would love for it to be laity led, people that are convicted to do this.
Mhm.
Because frankly, I think the movie is going to start a conversation, but the chapters are going to change communities.
Yeah. So it seems to me like even a group, a church who already has something going, this is something they could add on to what they're already doing
Yeah.
pretty easily if they already have the volunteers and the structure and the team.
Yep.
But then if you're watching this now and you're looking, you want to be involved and you don't see anything online, then they're welcome to apply to start one in their community.
Absolutely.
And hopefully before the movie comes out. So that way, when that influx does come, you've got that groundwork already done.
We would like to establish, anywhere from 50 to 100 chapters prior to, and that's very ambitious. And I don't have a specific. I mean, that's just sort of a goal, but
Hmm.
we'll leave it up to the Lord to decide who He convicts to be involved in that
Sure.
way. But yeah, that would be great to have that in place. That's the goal. So when the movie comes out later this year, people will have a place all ready to go.
Right. Now, was there a specific thing that made you want to involve churches and communities in this mission?
Well, I guess as a pastor, I know that there's a calling that we have. I know what the spiritual aspect for me was to
Hmm.
donate a kidney, and I
Sure.
want other people to be able to experience being able to be the hands and feet of Jesus. There's a tendency, not at my church, of course, but there's a tendency that some churches, some people, I have been guilty of this as well, can get so busy with life that you just write a check to help out something instead
Hmm.
of being involved.
Right.
And if you think about what Jesus did in his ministry, he healed people. When he healed the blind man, he put his hands on him.
Hmm.
And there was a very physical, the foot washing, there's a physical
Right.
aspect to it. So Jesus used physical things to accomplish his miracles,
Right.
to appreciate life, and
Hmm.
so it's just a matter of giving laity or civic groups or churches combining in a
Mhm.
region
Right.
the chance to go out and experience that relationship that's built when
Mhm.
you actually go out and do something for or with somebody.
Right. It reminds me when people go on mission trips, you're always going on you're always told before you go on a mission trip about, you're going to impact people, you're going to serve them, you're going to love on them. But when people come back, they've been more impacted, they feel, than the
Yes.
people they loved on. It's hard to imagine that you could go love on somebody, take them to an appointment, just be there, give them hope, handwritten cards of encouragement, whatever it is that the chapters do. It's hard to imagine that you could be impacted more than the person that actually needs that. But I can imagine that that's going to happen over and over. Where um, I've heard it said that you're never more like Christ than when you're serving. That He came to serve, and so when you're serving others, that's when you resemble Him and are implementing and being His hands and feet more than any other time. And so I can imagine you feel that something when you're giving something, you're also being filled, and it's hard to really understand that until you've done it, you know?
This tomorrow we have Bible study, and we're finishing up John chapter 13 tomorrow.
Mm.
We've been in the book of John for a year and a half, so we're
Wow.
taking our time.
Yes, you are.
But at the end of John 13, Jesus talks specifically about being a disciple, and he said, "You will know that they are disciples because they love one another." And so it's not that if you love one another or if you uh, have empathy for someone, then you
Mhm.
become a disciple. It's you'll know that they are disciples because they're doing that love. They're
Mhm.
creating that action. And you're right. It's I've experienced that on mission trips. And I've experienced that through this kidney donation. I was so much more blessed, I suspect, than Russell was.
Mhm.
He got physical life, and he was blessed from a spiritual aspect too. But there's such a strong spiritual component that I've experienced by being a live kidney donor
Mhm.
that through these chapters, I think it's an opportunity for so many people to experience that spiritual blessing
Yeah,
as well as physically helping so many people.
absolutely. So, when you've got these chapters, they're functioning, they're in specific communities, what problem do you foresee them solving that can't be solved any other way?
Well, providing hope for
Mhm.
those that are out there feeling lonely.
Mhm.
One of the people that we were able to help find a kidney for, he was number 5. He would not ask people for help anymore. He had
Mhm.
had a few that had been tested that were not able to donate,
Oh,
and he felt it was too big of a burden to ask someone else to help him.
wow.
And he had been on the list for 5.5 years, and it was getting tough. And we had to, I won't say we talked him into it, but when given the opportunity for us to do actually something very similar to what you and I are doing, we
Mhm.
interviewed him and his wife, and we put that out on social media in his town. Lived in Illinois. Within 48 hours, 12 people had stepped forward to donate a kidney to him,
Wow.
and 30 people within 2 weeks.
Wow.
And his wife told me during that interview, she said, it is so hard for my husband to ask someone. He almost refused to ask someone, but y'all are asking for us.
Yeah.
And so you can imagine that um, despair, almost
Mhm.
depression that can come about by knowing the situation that you're in.
Mhm.
I have a loved one that just got diagnosed with Parkinson's disease a couple of weeks
Mm.
ago, and although they're so strong in their faith, that is they shared with me Sunday that it's constantly on their mind.
Mm.
They go to sleep thinking about it. They wake up thinking about
Mm.
it, and so I think the chapters provide an opportunity for them to be engulfed in love
Mhm.
and hope.
Yeah, I love that, especially when you kind of get to the point where you can't stand up for yourself anymore. You just feel overwhelmed and don't want to be a burden. I mean, who wants to be a burden to people, you know? And even you mentioning his wife, maybe we skipped over, or I should have asked, but we talked about what dialysis is and the time. But what is it like for families when someone in their home is on dialysis?
Well, it's the if they're doing dialysis at home, it's a caregiver situation
Mm.
2.0. I mean, it's a lot of energy that it takes to do that. But even if they're doing it in dialysis centers, you're dealing with medication, you're dealing with the not just the mental and the emotional toil that it takes,
Mhm.
but the physical as well. Their health is deteriorating.
Mm.
One of our biggest volunteers is a widow, and they found a match for her husband, but he had deteriorated, even though he was on dialysis, too far, and he passed away before he was able to get a donor.
Oh, wow.
So it's such a difficult path to go through
Mm.
for the entire family.
Yeah.
And then you have the internal, um, you know, uh, internal struggles that family members may have, because a lot of people think you have to be a match for that person. They
Mhm.
don't realize that there's an opportunity to do a paired exchange or
Okay.
a pledge.
Mhm.
But you can imagine the stress within a family or within a peer group of, should I? That's, I mean, that's a big ask. It is
Yeah.
a surgery, although you're covered in 2 to 4 weeks on
Right.
average. But it's there's a lot of emotional and physical and spiritual impact on the entire family.
Mm. And you mentioned, asking family members. So why is it that like a living person donating a kidney, why is that so important?
The statistics, what they
Okay.
show is that if you think about it, a lot of people think if you just put donor on my driver's license says donor on it.
Right.
That has to be a very specific circumstance for them to
Mhm.
actually be able to use that, harvest those organs. That
Okay.
you have to be brain dead, but still your heart's still beating.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's a very, 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 very small percentage of cases where that is the way that you can go. So live donors is by far it's immediate, not immediate, but it's a true path instead of just waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. So it's much quicker. But it's also, a live donor usually lasts, and I don't want to say the exact specific percentage because I don't remember exactly
Mhm.
what it is, but typically the range I remember is somewhere like 10 to 15 years for a deceased donor, and 20, 25 years
Wow.
plus for a live donor.
Wow.
The success rate of the surgery is better.
Mm.
It's healthier, and I've got a good friend of mine that just celebrated his 80. Well, he celebrates his 82nd birthday this next month in June, and he's also celebrating the 26th anniversary of his kidney transplant at the
Wow.
age of 82, and he's doing great.
That's amazing. So what's it like statistically, or what can you tell us, some people who maybe they feel like, "Oh, I could probably do this," but then like you don't know anybody that's done it. They're just watching this video. Maybe they're not going to ask more questions. So what would you say to them right now? What's it like living with one kidney? Like, does it shorten your lifespan? What
Yep.
are some of those things
All
that you deal with?
questions that people have. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So go to our website, and
Okay.
there's a lot of answers to some of those questions. But I can tell you, as a live donor, I actually went for my yearly checkup this morning.
Oh, wow.
My creatinine level, which is showing your kidney,
Mhm.
function, I think it's supposed to be between zero point 0.6 and 1.3. Mine was zero point 0.9. Mine's right in the middle of the normal range, as if I had two kidneys. They will not allow you to donate a kidney unless you're completely healthy, enough to live the rest of your fruitful life with one kidney. Plus, if anything ever did happen to me and I needed a kidney, I'm elevated to the top of the donor of the list as a live donor. So that's kind of cool
Okay,
too.
that is
Nice
cool.
insurance policy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but as far as me, like I said, I had to be careful for several months, not to pick up anything more than 30 pounds. I
Mhm.
interpreted that as 30 pounds per arm. So I don't know if that's right or not, but
Mhm.
I was back in the gym within a couple of weeks. So 7 days,
Mhm.
I went the first time. They made me sit down and didn't let me do much.
Right.
But I immediately started trying to get back in shape and get my strength back. And I was 6 weeks, I felt completely normal,
Mhm.
and the only impact it has on me for the rest of my life is I can't take NSAIDs.
Okay.
I have to take, if I have a headache, I take Tylenol instead of
Okay.
ibuprofen.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't rather not take anything.
Sure.
But so it's very low impact.
Mhm.
There's programs that are in place that, such as the APKD, who we're partnering with. That's a kidney allocation service. National Kidney Registry is another one. But they have people that are in place, or programs that are in place that will help you with lost wages. They will pay
Mhm.
your lost wages for the time that you're out of the work. The recipient's insurance company covers all the costs.
Mm.
So there's literally no cost. You can turn back at any time. They asked me the morning of the surgery, right before they gave me the medicine that says, "Hey, this is going to help you relax,"
Mhm.
which means you're not going to remember anything else until
Yeah.
the surgery's over. But they said, we want to give you one more opportunity. If you want to change your mind, there's no problem. You can walk away right now, and that's constant throughout. To the
Mhm.
point that I told them, there, you're kind of getting on my nerves. I want to do this,
Yeah,
so you
stop
don't have to ask me
asking.
anymore. But the system is in place to protect the donor
Mhm.
more than anything else. My
Wow.
coordinator even said that. I was asking something about Russell, and she said, "My concern's not Russell, it's you. I'm your coordinator."
Right.
And so he has a coordinator too. And so yeah, it's been extremely low impact on the negative side, extremely high impact
Mm.
on the positive side for me.
Great. That's awesome. So, we've talked about the moment you realize you're going to do this, you do it, everything's going great. You're talking about having chapters for when the movie comes out. But what happens if you reach 1 million people? Like, what does that look like for your organization if 1 million people are impacted because of this movie?
You mean as far as receiving kidneys?
Or like just you reach 1 million people, like what are those 1 million people going to do if they feel impacted to make a difference?
Oh, I mean, it would end the wait.
Mhm.
100,000 would
Yeah,
end the wait. All this is going to be an ongoing thing,
sure.
and but yes, it would. We have been able to create an entire ecosystem now. So the movie is really sort of like an awareness pilot light
Mhm.
that lights the whole thing. So our partnership with different transplant centers that we have with
Mhm.
APKD, it allows us to basically send any interested donors directly to these wonderful transplant centers that'll walk them through the process. We have chapters set up that will support people after transplant as well, and that's an aspect of it I
Mm.
really didn't mention. It's not just to support those who are in renal failure that need love and support now, but also those who have had transplants.
Mhm.
And for us as a foundation, the majority of the proceeds from the movie are going back into the nonprofit. So it allows us to do all kinds of. I've got so many ideas.
I'm sure.
I want, if it does well enough, we love the idea of opening up a chain of nonprofit fitness centers
Mhm.
to help tackle through education, nutrition, and exercise
Mhm.
things that lead to diabetes, things that lead to kidney failure. Of course, we would call it in the weight, WEIGHT.
That's
So,
so good.
but I mean, imagine nonprofit gyms that are set up that help educate people.
Sure.
We're also creating a series of videos that are educational, doing what you and I are doing right now. That
Mhm.
sort of talk about these are questions that are current that are asked a lot.
Right.
We also have the opportunity through the connections that we've been able to make through our Dean Kane, our director,
Mhm.
um, through his influence and some others that we've been talking to at the state and federal level. We've been able
Mhm.
to open doors to talk about real change
Mhm.
within the transplant center, the transplant system itself. We've been to Washington already. We're going back to Washington to talk
Mhm.
to policymakers as well as executive branch of what can we do to make the process make people more aware, but also make the process more seamless for those who are considering donating. What can we do to educate people on the front end
Right.
to try to tackle this issue
Mhm.
earlier on?
Mhm.
It's the eighth leading cause of death in this country is kidney
Wow.
failure, and
Wow.
it's something that through education, through people wanting to help, we can tackle it on both ends at the same
Mhm.
time and in the wait.
Absolutely. And if it's the eighth leading cause of death right now, I'm sure that this your mission, we believe it's going to do a lot of good work in that.
Yeah.
Maybe even reduce that. If that happens, then what's the impact on the healthcare system and taxpayers?
Well, it's tremendous. That's a lot of people don't realize that. 'Cause the question would be who pays for all this?
Right.
Yeah, so transplant centers are paid by Medicare.
Mm.
Medicare is funded by the taxpayers.
Right.
I think it's 7.85% of the entire Medicare budget is dialysis.
Wow.
So you're talking tens of billions of dollars.
Yes.
I want to say it's close to $100 billion that funds just dialysis
Wow.
and transplant. There's still costs associated post transplant, but
Mhm.
it's about a fifth of the cost of dialysis. So you're saving roughly $500,000 for the federal taxpayer, not counting the state taxpayer through
Mhm.
Medicaid, not counting all of the impact to the economy by that person now being able to be an active, productive person in the community.
Mhm.
All of those ancillary things you're talking about just at the Medicare level, saving roughly $500,000 for the federal taxpayer for every person that we're able to find a kidney for.
Mm. Wow. That's just incredible. It's hard to believe,
You
but
can't hardly get your arms around that one.
you really can't. You
Yeah.
can't. So I know we're getting ready to kind of close up,
Yeah.
but I want to ask a couple more personal questions to
Sure.
you. Um, you talk about people donating a kidney and when they do that, somebody's life saved. So how have you seen the generosity of human beings, especially when it didn't cost you anything to do this financially? And a lot of times we use the word generosity, people immediately go to finances. So I'd be interested in hearing, how have you seen generosity in humankind through all of this?
You know, I the most rewarding thing as a pastor is to see somebody come to know the Lord. This is second.
Mm.
To see, um, I will never ask, Shannon, will you please donate a kidney?
Mm-hmm.
I will make you aware and allow the Lord, or pray that the Lord will convict the people that need to be convicted.
Right.
But to see it click and where someone it falls under the conviction of this is something I want to do. I can make a difference in this
Mm-hmm.
way. And there was a 70 something year old lady here in our hometown that needed a kidney. She had less than a year on the list before they were going to remove her because she was declining.
Mm-hmm.
And I shared in her civic club the need, and one of her friends who was 67 years old, a fit 67, was convicted that she wanted to help her friend. And they ended up being a match, and they were transplant number 14,
Wow.
May 5th of just a couple of weeks ago.
Wow.
And to see, I was able to we had a kidney reveal party. And so she didn't know who her donor was. HIPAA, she's not allowed to know, but the donor can share if they want to. And so they were both at the party together, and I was able to share with her who her donor was, and just to see the spark in her eye. It's such a beautiful thing to see. I mean, that's a generous thing to do, is to donate an organ. And but I do know and believe that for that donor, it was every bit the blessing as it was the gift.
Wow. That's incredible. Um, what part of this whole process, because you've already done a movie once before, so
Mhm.
you already have experienced that before. Um, what part of this whole new season you think has impacted you the most personally?
Oh, it's the transplants.
Mm.
It's the lives saved, and seeing the first movie was important. It was about priorities, and
Mm-hmm.
it definitely was impacting lives.
Mm-hmm.
But to see so many different avenues of life come together, and see one after another life change. I mean, every one is a miracle.
Mm-hmm.
Every one. We've seen 15, and the movie's not out yet. We haven't
Right.
started marketing the movie.
Right.
Nothing has happened. It's in post production. It'll be done in about another 30 or 40 days, and
Wow.
then it'll be ready, and then we'll have the right distribution partner, and it'll
Mm-hmm.
be out there.
Yeah.
But to think about how many lives this potential will impact, and now with streaming and all the things out there, I mean, our first movie is still out there on Amazon Prime. It's called The Way Home, but it's still on Amazon Prime and a whole bunch of other platforms right
Mm-hmm.
now. So knowing that this message of awareness will still be out there probably after I die, 30,
Mm-hmm.
40 years from now, somebody can still be convicted
Right.
of, this is something that I want to do.
Yeah.
Um, that I think is the most exciting part for me.
Yeah. That's really encouraging. And even now as we're finishing up, I can't help but think, because even what you're saying now, there's somebody who doesn't even realize they have kidney disease right now, and God is making a way for them to be healed
Yeah.
through this movement. And whoever's going to donate that kidney doesn't know it yet. All of that's still about to happen, and you're sitting at the cusp of something that's going to be life changing, life saving for people, and that's just such an incredible work. And I know you have a bigger vision, even, but it's exciting to sit here and watch some of the behind the scenes, just this tiny thing that a lot of people probably haven't heard of yet. I know it's getting a lot of traction, but eventually it's going to be a vessel God uses to save literally save their lives. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
just incredible.
You know, and another thing about the chapters, a lot of people can't donate. They're not
Mhm.
able to. But
Oh,
the chapter, for medical reasons,
sure,
or just not convicted to. So
sure.
the chapters allow people to be involved in any sort of way.
Mhm.
Just take a meal to somebody, or
Yeah,
pray for them,
yeah,
or whatever it is.
yeah.
Give them a ride to dialysis.
Mhm.
It allows anyone to be involved.
I love that, because even obviously doing a lot of mission work, we meet people all the time that can't travel overseas. They don't feel comfortable, the various things, but they do get involved with local missions. They do write the checks. They do say prayers. They do help in various different ways. They're not going essentially to another country and doing something, but they are still very essential to the whole
Right.
mission. And so I love that you mentioned that, because there is a lot of people who unfortunately don't see the value. If they're not doing the big thing, they don't see the value in those little things. And it's incredible. You've made a way for those people to still invest in this movement.
It takes all of it.
It does.
All of the things that we're trying to do, they do take financial gifts as well,
Of
and
course.
so we're thankful for those. But and all of those components are all part of a bigger piece,
Yeah.
and so it takes everybody.
Wow. I know I keep saying we're almost done, but last thing, um, and this, maybe you won't answer this and this will never make it on tape. I don't know. But, what is it, and you can be short with your answer, but what's it like? Because I think some people feel a birth of a vision sometimes and they don't know how to take that next step. And you're taking the next step in huge steps and having conversations, and now it's come to fruition. So, what's it like to be a vessel in this moment being used by God to do something way outside? Like, Randy, you aren't doing this. We know God's doing this through you, and He's using a lot of people. But what's it like to carry that type of stewardship of something just so enormous?
It's the most humbling thing I've ever experienced, because I'm not worthy of, to see all this happen.
Yeah,
But it's so. Why did you pick me, God?
yeah,
Why do I get the blessing of seeing all these miracles?
yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know. This is what it's like.
Hmm.
You just go through what you're called to do every day. You take one step at a time. God, what is the next steps? You plan it all out, but you just trust that He is driving the ship,
Sure.
and you just try to hold on to that rudder and go one day at a time, and you don't stop.
Yeah,
You keep trying to look under every rock, around every corner, to
sure.
see where, and where are the right partners to connect to make all this happen.
Yeah.
And God, guide this vision.
Hmm.
Don't let it be mine. And
Yeah,
we try to keep the main thing,
sure.
but it is all 100% Him.
Hmm.
And I just try to be obedient.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. I can imagine. I can't imagine, but I try to imagine just the weight of that, knowing you've been entrusted with such a huge thing to steward. And so it's just incredible to think I'm sitting with somebody who God said I can trust him to steward this for me. It's,
Well,
it's beautiful. I love it.
thank you.
Yeah. Well, for those of you that are tuning in, watching, he shared the website with you in thewait.net. So please go check out the website. Ask God, what does He want you to do? How does He want you to partner with this ministry? There's so many different ways. Maybe you could just jump in a very small way, buy a T-shirt, enter the raffle, if that's still going. start a chapter, find a chapter in your area, pray. Pray isn't the smallest thing you can do. It's
No.
actually the greatest gift you can give, where you can pray for the ministry, pray for the people, pray for the launch of the movie. And so just check out the website. If you have any questions, I'm sure there's a lot answered on there. And then share this video, and then connect with the ministry however God leads you.